Welcome everybody. My name is Bridget Owens, and I'm a tarot reader, a pagan community organizer. I'm the organizer for Springfield Pagan Meetup, and happy to bring a video to you guys since we can't do Pagan Pride Day in person this year. I know in the past some of you may have come to my talk that I did a couple of years ago, I think, on how to learn how to be a better tarot reader, how to get comfortable reading tarot, that sort of thing. And so today I was wanting to talk about kind of the anatomy of a good tarot reading, and because it's not just about knowing the cards, knowing what they mean, being able to lay out a spread and interpret it. That's, kind of the core of a tarot reading, but there's sort of a bigger picture, especially if you're reading for other people, but also if you're reading for yourself. And so there's kind of four pieces to it. And this is something that I kind of learned by reading for the public, because it kind of forces you to think about the hows and whys of what you do, but also kind of generally dealing with, customers and clients in various professional capacities, and thinking about kind of the anatomy of those interactions when you're trying to provide a service to someone. So there's basically 4 steps to a really good tarot reading, whether you're doing it for yourself or for someone else. And the first step is the consultation. So one of the things that I realized when I started reading for other people, strangers especially, is that part of the tarot reading where you establish not just what the query is, not just what the person wants to know or what you're wanting to know, what you're trying to get from the reading, but also kind of getting a broader sense of in terms of what the querent is asking, kind of why they're asking that, what the core concern is. Because a lot of what, when we come to a tarot reading or some kind of divinatory reading, or even spell work, a lot of the things that we do in our practices, we talk a lot about how it comes down to intention, but it really comes down to the root intention. And I talk a lot about how I read early on, before I was really a full-blown pagan, I read a book on feng shui called Move Your Stuff, Change Your Life. And it was really funny. The lady that writes it gives a lot of little anecdotal stories. And one she told was a client of hers who had she was wanting to find out what she should do in her living space to increase her chances of finding, somebody to date, finding a romantic partner. And so she gave her, told her to, get pink or red paper and get this kind of color of ink and write your intention down on a piece of paper and put it in this kind of a box and stick it in this place in your house. And she did all that. And later she comes back and she's like, this isn't working and I don't understand, everybody that I meet, everybody I go out with is already married, turns out to already be married, and I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. And she's like, well, what did you write on the paper? And she said, I want a husband. And so there's 2 kind of issues when we're trying to suss out what it is that we're looking for in the reading. And one is the core of what we're asking for. Are we asking for the right thing? So I know I've had a lot of people come to me for readings who, what they want to know is are they making this particular right decision, or is this particular thing going to happen? But the actual intention, or what they really want to know, is always a bit off from that, a bit different, a bit deeper. And it's usually the bigger question that's the important one to answer, and not just the surface one. And also, it's not always that the thing that we worry about the most is not always for the reasons that we think that it is. So if we're kind of going after the reason, we're not addressing the root thing. So having that conversation to really get on the same page is important. And the other reason it's important to do the consultation, especially with other people, is to establish, are you the right reader for what they're looking for? So all of us who do readings kind of have our own style, have our own language. We, work with different things. Some people channel, some people don't. Some people are intuitive. Some people, we all have our kind of different things. So if somebody's coming to you for a past life reading and you don't do past lives readings, this is the point in time where you kind of establish, are you really providing, are they looking for what you can provide, and are you able to provide them what they are looking for? Sometimes they don't know, sometimes, but establishing what it is that, are they there for fun? Are they there for something serious? Are they asking the right questions? And making sure that going in what they want. And when it's your own reading, it's important to take that time to talk to yourself as well, to actually sit down and really, really understand what it is that you're looking for. And maybe it's just, every day you do a tarot spread for yourself, or it's just I just want to see what's here, but kind of taking that time to center and focus and really not just go into it without having given that some thought and having that conversation with yourself. So the second part of the tarot reading is kind of, I call it the ritual. And I'm a big believer that, everybody's got their own thing. There is no right way or wrong way to set up a tarot reading, but it is important to get in the right mental space and in the right energetic space to do what you're doing. And even if, I know when I did readings, even if the room itself and the time that I spent in the reading room, if the energy and everything in there was great, perfect, still before each one, I really needed to kind of get centered and get myself in the right state of mind to do that particular reading, to kind of continually bring myself back to that. So, whether it's, you set your cards up the certain way, or you can light incense and candles and bring out crystals and do, how you shuffle, all of those things, how all of the pieces kind of go together, how often, how many times you shuffle, how you, do you let the other person touch the cards, whatever it is that you do. I think settling into that sort of ritual for yourself is an important part of learning to do a really good tarot reading, because it ritual, like the ritual of it puts your brain in that space where you're like, okay, this is what I'm doing now, and this is where my focus is going to be. This is, it kind of separates out that mental, emotional, spiritual space of the reading itself. So all of the, whatever it is, and it can be something super simple. It doesn't have to be elaborate. There is nothing that says that you can't, if your ritual is that you shuffle it 3 times, cut the deck once, and then there you go. As long as that's what, that you kind of settle into that, and that's your style, that becomes how you do those. I think that I think it doesn't make a lot of sense for there to be, like, sometimes there's a big elaborate ritual and sometimes you just pull it out of the deck and flip a card. If that doesn't fit with kind of your intentions. So it's your intention as a tarot reader, why you're doing these readings, and what kind of energy you're intentionally trying to get into. So whether it's elaborate or whether it's simple, I think as you get to reading more and more, either for yourself or other people, you're going to settle into some sort of ritual. It also, for people who come to you for a reading, kind of signals that, like, we're in the process now. And it kind of sets aside, I hate to say sacred space, but kind of, and sometimes in a very definite way, that this is a kind of a ritual we're going through together. So the third part, of course, is then the reading. So however you do it, whatever kind of spreads you put out, it's that core part of laying out the cards, interpreting the cards, and communicating that to the other person or to yourself. So it's easier when you're reading for yourself, because you don't have to translate it for you. You don't have to, what you mean, what you're seeing. But part of a really, really important part of this part of a tarot reading is getting really good at clearly communicating what you're getting, the meanings that you're getting out of the cards, to the client or the querent in a way that they can understand it, that's clear to them. So this is a thing that takes a lot of practice for some people. It's kind of like when I was, when I was in high school, I was a very good student. People would ask me to tutor people, and I always hesitated because I'm like, sometimes there's things that I just know, and I don't know how to explain to people why it makes sense to me or how I memorized it. I just know that I did. So it doesn't make me a very good teacher necessarily, even though I know a lot of stuff. If I can't communicate it clearly to someone else, that information is not useful to them. So this is the kind of thing where you maybe need to think about, and you pick up a lot of this stuff from the consultation bit. Is this somebody who's going to appreciate you going into in-depth, explanations of the meaning of the card and the origin of the imagery and all of this stuff, or do they just need to know what it means for them? Is there some sort of common ground that you can use? I actually like to reference, pop culture and, probably common experiences and sort of metaphors for things that kind of help, turn meanings into something actionable and easy to grasp. Because there are spiritual concepts that, we can talk all day about them, but when it comes down to somebody coming in for a tarot reading probably is more interested in knowing, like, does this mean that I need to stop talking to this person? Does this mean that I need to, is this telling me what decision to, I should be making? What does this really mean for me? What does this mean I should do or not do? Or, think about this, or is this, what is it that this means for me, tends to be way more important than the sort of deep philosophical meanings that come out of, whatever it is in the card. So learning to convey those things in a very, very clear way is a really important part of the reading for when you're doing it for someone else. And that also means, having a good understanding of what meanings mean in a real world scenario. So, when we read for ourselves, like I said, it's much easier because we already speak our own language. The cards are speaking our language. And that's an important part also that I want to bring up. When we're doing card readings, if you're worried about, if you've never read for somebody else, or if you're just starting out, there really isn't a right or wrong. Every person who does divinatory anything has their own sort of language. And I always like to explain it kind of this way. Because I have sat in a room with other tarot readers and I have had tarot readings from lots of other people. And there are lots of times when, and probably just about every time, when I get readings from other people, the cards that they get and what those cards say to them is different from what those cards would say to me. And the important thing is that they laid those cards. They're doing the reading for me. So those cards are speaking their language. So whatever meaning I would take for those cards, from those cards, if I had been the one to deal them out, doesn't really matter. I have to trust what they are saying about the cards, because those cards are speaking to them. They're not speaking through them to me. They're not speaking to me. You are always the interpreter. The cards are speaking through you. So they are talking, the message that you're getting from the cards is in your, there's not, just because somebody else would interpret it differently doesn't mean that theirs is right and yours is wrong. The cards are always going to speak your language. So that means that you have to translate that language for the person on the other side. And for yourself, it also means being really, really objective. I know a lot of people believe that you shouldn't kind of read for yourself. And it is difficult to be really, truly objective about what the cards are telling you. Because we all like to see what we like to see. And sometimes that's not what the card says. Most of the time, that's not going to be what the cards say. So those are some things to think about the actual tarot reading itself. So there's the consultation part. There's the little ritual. You do the reading and you convey the meaning to whoever you're reading for. And the last part, sort of the conclusion, the wrap up. And this can go kind of two ways. When you're reading for yourself, it is a really good idea. I don't write down every single one of my tarot readings for myself, but I do have sort of, journals, and there are times when I do readings and really important stuff that I think I need to kind of remember pops up. Sometimes I get interesting interpretations of cards that have never, that were sort of situational, but it's like, oh, that's an interesting way that card has showed up. And writing those kinds of things down is important. If you're asking something very, very specific, it is a good idea to kind of journal that out and see kind of how that plays out in your life. So journaling for yourself, kind of have some way to, a lot of times all I'll do is just take a picture of it with my phone. So, if I need to refer back and go, what did it say again? Oh yeah, that's where it is kind of important. The equivalent to that, if you're reading for somebody else, I always found it very helpful to offer, I haven't read for the public in a very long time, but I used to offer to send an image of the reading and kind of a summary of what it said. Because I know when I get readings, once I've walked away, it's kind of like, what cards were, I don't know, I think there was a tower in there somewhere, and I don't remember. So kind of giving them do you want me to, email you a little summary of what it was. But most importantly, even if I didn't do that, to not just sum up for them what the reading said, but to, and I don't want to say give an assignment, but kind of give here's what the next steps seem to be. Because no matter what the reason is that you get a tarot reading, it's usually to inform your actions going forward. Or at least to give you something to think about or to mull over, or, some message that you need to hear. So the best thing I think you can do for someone is not just let them go with, here's all this information, I've just dumped it in your lap, good luck with all that. But to go, listen, this is what I'm seeing here is that, you should really address, here's this problem. I'm seeing that you are, very fixated on this thing, that maybe it's unreasonable. And I think that this is telling you to spend, more time and energy on this other thing. Or, you really need to clear this chakra, or you really let them leave with some sort of actionable steps to take going forward. That this is not just what this is telling you, but this is what you should do about it. And from a business standpoint, this is where you also go, and hey, you should probably come back and follow up. And just it kind of is bad form, I think, just to do the reading and then go, well, so that was interesting. Good luck. Hope maybe I see you again in the future. I think about it more along the lines of a relationship you would have with a doctor or maybe a therapist or even a massage therapist or whatever. You're somebody that you go to for services. You want to develop a relationship with that person. You want to know that they kind of have a history, they know what muscles that you need massaged, or they know what problems you've been working on in your therapy, or they know what your health history is, or whatever. Even if you don't remember everything about their life or even know everything about their life, having that continuity of, being able to come back to a tarot reader and check in, that end part is where you kind of, it's that string that leads to the next visit. So wrapping that up in a way that not only gives them something actionable to take with them, gives them some sort of, sense that there's value there's some instruction, there's some clarity, there's something that they can use from it that they've gotten, but also that that's not the end of the line, and that you're interested in how it goes, and you want them to do that, and then that there's next steps after, and that you're there for them for those next steps. So it's a really important thing to wrap that part up. And for yourself, that journal thing is also that same kind of promise that, you know, you're going to write something down, and then that's something that you can refer back to, and that you're not, you know, that you're kind of being your own therapist in a way. But to kind of have that record and have that where it's not just a standalone thing, and that you give yourself something, you know, some piece to work on. Information is meant to be used, so divination is about getting information, and that information is supposed to be meaningful and give you some way to move forward with it. It's never just about the present moment. It's always about the future, and not just telling the future, but actually being empowered to improve the future. So hopefully that is helpful to some people. Just as a kind of recap, so there's the 4 pieces. There's the consultation part, where you establish, you know, what the reading is about, really what the meaning is about, what the intention is. Make sure you're all, you know, you and your querent or whatever are all on the same page, that you know what you're trying to accomplish. Then there's the ritual, where you get into the right mindset, you kind of set the space, you get, you know, it's that repeated ritual of the reading that lets you know and lets the querent know that this is kind of a sacred, separate space, and that the energy is right for doing what you came to do. There's the reading itself, which doesn't just include getting the meanings, but also communicating those meanings in a functional way that actually gets those meanings across to the person you're reading for. And then there's the conclusion, where you really wrap it up for them and open that door to the next reading that you do for them. So hopefully, yeah, that's been helpful. Again, my name is Bridget Owens. Really sorry that we can't all be together, but better safe than sorry. And hopefully next year we can all meet in person.